YouTube, welcome back. Forbidden Combatant, an alternative way to do this, featuring a different mythic item. In terms of the team comp you want to be using this against, I wouldn't say the champion types are that important because you will be dealing with tanks and squishies alike, taking them both out. The real thing you should be focusing on and understanding the reasoning behind the playstyle is the point is to be in combat and to be as useful of a combatant as possible. Be the best fighter you can be, and this alternative way of doing so should fit that scenario. So, with that being said, let's get into the rune page and the build because there's going to be few explanations that we need to get into. So, that being said, let's go. I honestly think the rune page doesn't really need in-depth explanations because the runes themselves seem self-explanatory to me, but there's no harm skimming through them. So let's do just that. And for those of you who have watched the original Forbidden Command video, you will soon learn that there hasn't been much has changed because they are still very similar in terms of playstyles. Anyway, it's just an alternative way to do it. So let's quickly move through this. Lethal Tempo, I think it's the best rune in its tree. It's better than Conquer because I feel as if, especially when it comes to damage, the extra auto attacks is going to do more than the tiny adaptive force that you get, if we're being honest here. So, Lethal Tempo is king. Triumph, it's the best thing in the tree, or the row. Legend Tenacity, this is probably, is it more important than the entire precision tree itself? I don't know, but I do know it's obviously better than everything in its row. And Lost Stand, if you pay attention to the champion you're playing, you only start doing real damage after you get your 5 stacks, after you stack Lethal Tempo, after you are in combat for a significant amount of time, then you begin to do damage. Lost Stand complements that. I don't really believe that I even needed to explain this because I feel as if you guys should have already known this by now. But anyways, I already broke it down. In terms of the resolve tree, the important part of taking this is actually unflinching. When it comes to bone plating, this can be interchanged with conditioning or second wind, whatever you really want. Hell, if you really feel like it, if you feel a little spicy, you could even take demolish. However, in terms of like being combatant and stuff like that, I think you should still stay in this row. If you have to choose between one or the other, I think you'd have to be debating conditioning if we're being honest. But it comes down to how much do you value armor and magic resist, because you will still have quite a bit of armor and magic resist coming from your items. So is this really necessary? I don't know. But bone plating, I don't really think you can go too wrong with it. So we stick to these. And with that being said, let's go down to the stats. Attack speed, the best thing in its row. Okay, now the last two, for anyone who feels a little too normal, you can perfectly go AD and resistances of whatever you want. However, this is something I'm trying as an experiment where we take a bit of HP here and we put some resistances here. The reason why I don't really mind losing 5 AD is because, I mean, it's 5 AD, if we're being honest. So I'm cool with losing a little bit of that. But with that being said, this is the rune page, and let's get into the build because that's the one that we really do need to get in depth with. Alright, we have the rune page right here. It's in order for the most part. I think when you start to get really like specific, you might want to get something else earlier than the other thing because of the champions you're facing against. Some circumstances can alter the order. However, for the most part, I feel like this is okay. Doran's Blade, you're trying to kill your enemy, the enemy champion, and the best way to do it is to hurt them. So we get this. If you feel like going Doran's Shield, whatever. But for the most part, we're taking the blade. Winged Moon Plate. I know it's controversial, but I'm trying to move quick and close gaps and then kill enemies. I'm gonna need some movement speed. Plus, it's HP, something you're gonna really need because this build is kind of lacking HP early. So this is actually gonna be really prevalent. So then you get your steel caps or ninja tabis. And here you have quite a bit of stats. You got some armor, got some HP, now we need to finish that AD item, which we go into Eclipse. Okay, after we get Eclipse, we now need to get some magic resist HP item, which will be Force of Nature. And fortunately about this is movement speed as well, and Eclipse has 5 flat movement speed that comes from its mythic passive, so you're getting a bit of movement speed there. So that's 2 sources of movement speed plus your boots, and we are good to go. However, we started off with Tabis as our armor item. We started with Force of Nature as our magic resist item. Now I'd say typically in a build like for Darius, his builds should somewhat consist of 2 of each. So to top it off, we finish his armor items with Death's Dance, and then we finish his magic resist items with Morma Mortius. Then you have a good baseline of both armor and magic resist, and if we pay attention, we do kind of have a bit of HP coming from Doran's Blade, Force of Nature, and the scaling HP rune in our rune. So, with that being said, that is really the core items. Now, for those who are like, okay, but how am I supposed to deal with tanks if I still haven't finished Cleaver? The thing is, I understand that, I do get that, but because we have resistances, these tanks should not be one-shotting us or even out-trading us, because we are tanky as them because of our resistances. We also stick to them because not only do we have Force of Nature movement speed, but we also are counting things like Eclipse, flat movement speed coming from both all 3 of the items, which is Force of Nature, Death Dance, and more, giving 15 flat, which is really nice to have. Not to mention, the last thing we have is percentage armor pen with Omnivamp and a little bit of a shield. So maybe we might not kill them like really quickly, but we have the ability to stay on top of them, and we have the survivability to not die to them. And we have a bit of armor penetration as well, extra armor penetration coming from Eclipse. So we kind of have a jack of all trades here. Now, if we had Cleaver, then it really becomes a lot easier, but Cleaver can't really fit earlier, so I have to keep Cleaver late, and then that's the full build. But typically, games do not last that long, so I think it was a smart idea for me to put Cleaver at the end and use Eclipse as the pseudo Cleaver kind of item. So that's the way I did things, and there you go. That's Forbidden Combatant featuring Eclipse. So I hope you understand and enjoyed the video. Other than that, I will be testing this out tonight on tonight's stream, and we're going to go over a game tomorrow, 1 p.m. GMT, and see how things work out. So, other than that, thank you for watching the video. Do the YouTube usuals: like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. I watch more videos. Anyways, that's it from me. All my links are down in the description below. Be sure to follow them. Well, other than that, check my stream, and peace late.
Nothing but